Welcome, Tiny Hands, Big Dreams, here in the homestead in southern Ecuador. This is an interesting video. This is Tidbits of Ecuador.
Number 2.
Numero dos. Yeah, so we've acquired all these tidbits, things that catch us off guard, they're unusual, they're weird, that just sort of be like, man, that's weird. Some of them are like official things, some of them are societal
Random
customs.
That we find interesting.
Enough that we both look at each other like
never would have thought.
So, it's interesting. I got a list in no particular order, sort of as they happened.
Yeah, we write them down as they happen, except for the ones we don't and we forget about.
Now, we are people that are super allergic to poison ivy. It's part of how we moved here. There is no poison ivy. We are the 0.1 of 1% of sensitivity.
So bad.
You're better off throwing radioactive waste at us. There is a thing called a Spanish plum.
Is that what it's called?
It's a Spanish plum. It looks like a big grape. It's red and kind of green. You're like, oh, that was like a tasty little tarty fruit.
So the story is.
Yeah, so I decided.
Well, because we especially when we first moved here, we were trying all of these random different fruits and vegetables and things we had never seen before. And what the heck is this? And you can't really figure out what it is because when you ask the lovely Ecuadorian lady selling it, she just says something that we don't understand, or is a local colloquial term for it, which you cannot go home and look up. So they looked good.
They looked great. So I buy some.
And
turns out they're called. She's like, oh, well, don't eat that. Let me look it up. I'm like, it's a fruit. I can eat fruit.
I'm just gonna look up what it is.
It's the only fruit in the world that contains urushiol, which is the thing that causes.
Is it the oil?
Yeah, it's a. I don't know. It's a compound, but it causes your bodies to attack yourself. It's what's in poison ivy. It would have caused the inside of me to poison ivy.
The only other thing in the world.
The only other thing.
Random point. If you are not bothered by poison ivy, these probably are delicious.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew? All right. When you come and you want to go shopping, you want to do stuff, don't think you're going to use your credit card. It's very less common. They charge an extra fee. They'll sneer at you.
Hoops to jump through.
Cash. Ecuador is cash. Not just cash. Coins. Dollar coins rule. Keep all the ones you can. There are places. Nobody ever has change. Ecuador has this like permanent change shortage, and everybody sort of stockpiles it. And then you go to the market and you go to use a 20, and they just like Or sometimes they just tell you no.
Or they'll run around to other vendors trying to buy.
Super common. Yeah.
You just feel real bad.
And then they get snitty about it. And then next time you show up, they're like, yeah. All right. But besides all that, no imperfect bills. If there is a 1 millimeter tear on a fold of a $5 bill, they'll hand it back. They're like, no, I won't take it. I don't know what the laws used to be regarding bills in Ecuador. I know with American money, there's even signs in the banks of like, this is okay. You can even have a chunk missing. People do not want it. It's really hard to get rid of a slightly imperfect bill.
My guess is it has to do with before Ecuador switched to the US dollar, there were probably different regulations. I don't know. It's definitely a holdover from something because, even the banks are like, no, it's okay.
Yeah, but we've also gotten stuck of like, this is my last $5 because we're like, I can't take it.
But what am I supposed to do with it?
What am I supposed to do with it?
Ow.
Sorry.
That's just something I don't know, just an interesting thing
we
run into all the time.
Things we run into. Walking around the market, people will randomly have a thing that they're selling. Like there's a guy, and they'll like...
Or even just walking around the streets. Like downtown.
And they're like hang stuff on them. Remember the old, way before my time, I'm not that old, like the candy cigarette girl things with the little box and like the strap? Yeah, but they could be selling rat poison and like something for back pain and
it's always a very strange combination of things. And
then there's guys that I just picked up some stuff today and I'm walking around. I have a vanity for above your toilet, and
the coat rack was one that always got me.
Coat rack, like dudes carrying a 6-foot coat rack, like, and like a rug or a hammock.
Huge things that just seem so strange.
Or a collection of towels, and then like
pots and pans.
Were those even from the same store? Like I don't even understand.
I don't know. I find it sort of hilarious and an oddball thing.
Yeah. At one point, I'm like, wow, that's a nice full-length mirror. We kind of need a full-length mirror.
But I don't really want to buy one right now. It's not a spontaneous
In the middle of
purchase.
walking around buying fruit. Oh, you're rolling down the highway, the main highway between provinces things. There's all of a sudden people blocking the road, and they have a big thick rope across the road.
Well, the first time that happened, we were like,
They're usually dressed nice. They usually have a box. There's usually a sign of somebody needs a heart transplant or is in an accident, a thing. It's a donation. Now, sometimes they'll give out a like sugarcane juice in like exchange for the donation. We always refuse it because who knows what water you made that with. Our stomachs are weak. But you can just say no. But they are going to stop you on the highway. You can't just like roll through. Sometimes, just to be easy, I'll throw in a nickel or a dime or something.
sometimes they put the rope up, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Depends on how forceful they are.
But it's like, you can just block the road and ask for donations. This is their social care system.
And while it is sort of strange and a little irritating sometimes, it's also part of the take care of yourself mentality. The government isn't set up to take care of you. It's not the way it works here. You figure out a way to take care of yourself, and they allow it because you're not hurting anyone.
Yeah. No, it's never been like you're rolling through Oakland and they do it, and you're about to get like straight up shot, robbed, something carjacked. No, they're trying to help people. Okay, the government response to the energy crisis that they're having in Ecuador currently.
Now, the energy crisis is because much of the country is in a drought. Everything is hydro here.
Which
therefore
is because it isn't raining. Some people thought it was some sort of conspiracy. It's like, no, there's not rain.
There's just no water.
Water go in lake. Lake go through power turbine.
And because there is not enough water, there is not enough power.
The power is equal to the water in the lake times the elevation.
And as far as I know, the country does not have any other significant means of power generation.
Now, interestingly, what we've also seen, that they have dropped all tariffs on power generating equipment. So you can import power generating stuff, like generators, without any tariffs from anywhere.
And the tariffs are usually relatively significant.
Oh yeah, they're like 30%. So that's a very quick response to let people help themselves out. And I also heard from the engineer friend that there is a $2,000 guaranteed loan to anybody who wants to buy a generator that the government is backing. So because there's no power, you might have a need, you might not have the money, so they're rolling out these loans. I'm like, well, they're literally trying to help the people. Imagine that. Imagine if you lived in a country where the government was there to help the people. This is neat and new.
Crazy concept.
Yeah, third world country for you, right?
Along that same line.
Oh, another government thing. When we got our permanent visas, we saw that just before we did it, they lowered the fees.
I don't know if I've ever experienced a government lowering fees before.
Like significantly. It was like 30 or 40%. They like dropped the fees.
For our permanent residency.
Like, you're on the hook for it. You're already here. You're going to pay it whatever it is.
You would have paid whatever it was.
You don't have a choice. No, they lowered it.
Like, huh.
That's a little bit, it helps out.
That was cool.
It's a couple $100.
Yeah.
All right. Internet.
People ask all the time, like, where is there internet?
Oh, you're going to get internet? Internet here is better than a lot of places in the States. Everywhere we've been, fiber has been available. Just everywhere. Except for where we are now, but nothing's available here because
that was also our choice.
We're up at the edge of yeah. So
we chose to be out here.
Now it is also cheap. You can get internet for like $6 or $8 a month. You can get fast internet for $12 or $16 a month. Like fast fiber internet. Starlink is available, which is what we use because we are way out there. And it's cheaper here than in the States. Starlink charges $45, which also it started at $60, and then they lowered it 1 month. So I was like,
oh, that's nifty.
Satisfied with that one.
Yeah.
Okay. More Ecuador government things. They subsidize gas, diesel, and propane. Now, propane is there's no natural gas that I know of. It is 40 pound, which is a double barbecue tank size. and it's $1.65 to exchange your tank. Nobody refills. So you don't want a different tank. But the tanks are easy to exchange. You go anywhere, they give you a new one. You don't have like the thing with the date. Oh, you have to recertify it. Nope, you just give them a tank, they give you a new one like that.
I mean, the way it works in cities, because we've lived near or in Loja, there's propane trucks, many trucks.
He gets within a mile of our house here.
Yeah, but but in the city, it's just constant.
Oh, yeah.
And they have their little musical jingle, and you
5 times a day.
Exchange them. You're like, oh, propane's coming, and and you switch them, and it's
you could just leave the tank on the street.
Yep. What?
Chipmunk. Senior Chipmunk is jumping and eating my berries.
Oh.
I will skin you, bird.
That's my job.
Okay. So you just put your tank outside. The truck will, when he comes by, he'll honk and be like, oh, okay, you go out. The truck's a little more, $3, $3.25, $3.50 in some local stores because it's like an extra step. But that's the equivalent of $1.75 for the barbecue-sized tanks that you're used to in the U.S., which is really cheap. So people can have cooking fuel. Now, gasoline is subsidized. It changes around a bit. It's gone up lately, $2.79. All of Ecuador, your basic low octane is $2.79.
Well, that's a gallon, right?
A gallon. Not
a liter. Ecuador also mixes standard and or metric and
anywhere that sells their gas in liters, I don't want to live. It's the same price, but you get like
I know
a lot less. Now, premium I think is market rate, unless I'm mistaken.
Well, I think you're right.
So premium is $4.20, I think was the last I saw. I don't buy the premium because it's more.
It's premium. We're not premium.
It is better. The problems I have with the van not running right and the carburetor and the thing, they go away when I run the premium. If you run 1 gallon of premium to 4 gallons of cheap, problems are still solved. You just need a little bit, but that's really annoying to try to mix. Diesel is subsidized to like $1.79. Diesel's pretty cheap.
And that's one of those, like, I know you said at one point that if we had known that, we may have used diesel for certain things.
We would have bought a diesel generator.
Because we just didn't know.
I might have looked for a diesel vehicle, like more. We just didn't pay attention to it.
No. I guess before you have a vehicle, you don't pay enough attention to that.
No.
And it wasn't something I would have ever considered from the U.S. that we would want that.
From my buddy Steve, who lives near Peru, he has a generator. He, as a foreigner, cannot buy gas within 20 miles of a border. It turns out that's a law because it's a black market thing. They take it to Peru, they sell it, they make money. They're not allowed to sell any gas that doesn't go into a vehicle close to the border. Oh, it's a stink bug. Go away. Go. Be free. What do you do with stink bugs? So he's like, I can't get gas. I have to have an Ecuadorian take my gas can and go to the gas station to get a few gallons of gas to run his little backup generator. Oh.
That's just nuts. I mean, I see the reason. I understand the reason. But
yeah. You also, as a foreigner, cannot buy property within 20 miles of said border. So if you see this lovely piece of land advertised, oh, it's down in Zumba, it's next to Peru. How close? It's within 20 miles. Any part of that property, you can't buy it. Yeah. Yeah, something to know. And just the very last one. Ecuador uses, besides the US dollar, US power. 120 volt, 230 volt, 60 hertz. All of your standard appliances that work in the States work here. If you're coming from Europe, not so much.
But it was kind of a nice...
They also use US outlets.
Yeah, it was a bonus that you don't have to then convert everything in some fashion.
Or just leave everything and try to buy it all again. No, it all works. It is essentially the same. So, yeah. And power is cheap here when it's on.
Yeah. 10 hours of no power a day.
Yeah, lately.
Pretty rough.
But it's nobody even can tell me how much it is because their bill is so little. Nobody ever looks at it. Yeah, so an office that has multiple computers, lights on all the time, a back kitchen, fridge thing, something, who knows what else, is less than $20 a month for a professional like office setting. So
It's very, very minimal.
nobody even knows.
Nobody pays any attention.
They're like, it's cheap, you just pay it. Okay.
That's why everyone thought we were crazy when we didn't want power lines out here.
Yeah, like what?
But it's cheap.
Oh yeah, solar
Yes.
does not compare favorably on a cost basis.
No.
Senior puppy. Unless the price of power is higher. Now it's coming down drastically. It is getting to where it's competitive. Your payback is getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yeah, on a strictly cost basis, it's maybe not the best. But when you are looking at
We have internet, we have power.
Of the day not having power, I'm really happy for our solar.
Nobody else does. We're continuing on with life.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. Tidbits of Ecuador. We waited many hours to do this video because of the cicadas.
Also a tidbit.
Also a tidbit. There
Only
are
for us, really.
annual cicadas. And they're in clusters. We just happened to like the little house that was here on the property, which we just sort of inherited, took over. The little colony is literally next to our house in some big trees. They're not
up
like when
mountain,
you drive
down the road.
You hear them every so often, maybe miles apart. You hear them, you're like, wow, that's loud. And then it's beautiful and quiet for miles.
But we did not know this because the day that we saw the property, it was raining. Cicadas don't like rain.
They don't make noise in the rain.
So that was a fun surprise. Not everything is perfect.
Yeah.
At least they don't hurt you.
No, well, they occasionally they're the worst flyers
when
ever.
You let one in the house,
it's like the Helling Racing School. Like,
terrible.
It's bad. They're the worst flyers ever. All right, that has been our Tidbits of Ecuador. Hope you learned something. If you like it, subscribe. We'll do more and other interesting shenanigans on homesteading in Ecuador in the future. Hope you enjoyed it. See you for the next one. Who's a pretty duck? You're a pretty duck.